Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me as we take a look at what's going to be a significant storm, probably our biggest snowstorm of the winter here across southern Vermont. The one back in December will certainly potentially rival what we got. If you remember back that far, you probably don't. But looking at a lot of snow, significant storm that actually the heaviest axis of snow is probably just to our south. We'd be talking about a massive dumping of snow. I think we're going to miss out on the huge snow totals, although not entirely convinced of that yet. Also, there's a small chance that things move a little further south of us than we're thinking, and we end up with a still big storm, sizable storm, but maybe not anything kind of more than large for run-of-the-mill. So lots of details to work out. I want to try to give you an idea of what's going on here across the country. First of all, here is our system. This is kind of what's left over. There's been this train of moisture that's just been flowing onshore from the Pacific. You probably saw all the pictures of the flooding and the massive snowfall in California. This is sort of part of that same system, but there's also some upper level support here for this system. And what's happening here is as we get all this convection here across the southeast heading off the coast, we're going to do something we haven't done all winter, which is develop a coastal low pressure system here off the eastern seaboard. Not a system that's redeveloping, that's transferring energy off the coast, but just develop a coastal low pressure system here that is then going to ride up the coast. As it develops, it's going to do a little loop-de-loop, something that's relatively common for these kinds of storms. So it's going to be a relatively slow mover, and some places are going to be in heavy snow for a good long time, giving us a chance to get a lot of snow. Snow will fall steadily, at least for it looks like a solid 24 hours, and some of that could be heavy at times. So that adds up over time. Also, there's going to be a trough access that'll go back to this upper level low that'll continue throughout. That's going to focus where the heaviest snow to the north and west of the system happens. Right now, it looks like the very heaviest of that will set up south of here, but we'll go through the details as we get there in terms of the really big snowfall totals. First of all, if you take a look at radar here, again, we see lots of convection here across the southeast. This is always a little concerning in terms of a forecast because convection is something that models, because it's a small scale effect, models know it's there. Certainly they all model it, but exactly where the more convection happens, which is where you're getting more energy put into the atmosphere for all that water vapor condensing out as rain that adds energy into the atmosphere. Exactly where that happens will play a large role in the exact storm track and things like that. So there's some details to iron out. I mean, it's not going to change the big scale effects. We're in for a big snowstorm and with a decent amount of wind, especially in the hills. But the questions of do we get what I'm thinking, which right now is a foot plus maybe 18 inches of snow in some places, or do we move to the 2 to 3 feet rate spot? Definitely some areas relatively close to us, either in, right now I would say the Berkshires have the best chance of that, but are looking at probably 2 to 3 feet of snow. I think we're a little bit lower than that, but that axis is definitely not going to be able to be nailed down for sure until the storm happens. But either way, big snowstorm coming. So let's take a look. We're going to try to walk you through this step by step. I don't have as many like the location graphics and things. I didn't have that much time today. I had church obviously this morning, and then my son has a basketball game this afternoon that I want to get to. So I'm trying to squeeze this in between. I'll have a lot more stuff for you tomorrow morning, but we're going to go through moment by moment. So by 1 a.m. Tonight, headed into tomorrow, we're already starting to develop the coastal low. Here's our upper level low pressure system. That's not even really a surface low. I just put it there to kind of give you an idea. This trough axis in between these two, which is you already can see that on the radar that's sort of strung out. Actually, let's go back to that. I'll show you that real quick. You can already kind of see some of that trough is here and a little bit of a trough that's sort of bent back around. That's going to continue, and that's going to eventually be the axis for additional lift on top of the lift just from the low pressure system that's going to give focus to heavy snow. It's not doing that yet, but it will eventually do that. As we head by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're into light rain as the system is still not really getting going. There will be some heavier thunderstorms in some areas down in here east of the system, but for the most part, we're just kind of in this lighter rain. Light snowback with this system. Again, this is an upper level low. I'm actually going to, after this map, you see I dropped the low pressure system off. This is never really a surface low. This is basically an upper level low that does have enough mid-level forcing to get some snow around it. But you can kind of see that trough, again, is the focus of the moisture at that point. As we head into midday, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Sunday our Monday afternoon, you can see we are starting to really get the heavier precipitation, lots of thunderstorms going on with the storm. This is really starting to become its own system here. Still along the trough axis, we've got some lighter showers and light snow still to the northwest, and that's starting to creep in our direction. I do think, even though the snow will be kind of on our doorstep for quite a while, because this trough is not moving as fast as the low pressure system and everything's kind of slow, I do think it will take until tomorrow evening, really, or late afternoon, evening, to get the snow in here. As we head towards 7 p.m., though, notice we are into the light snow here. The trough axis moves north a little bit more. This low pressure system continues to kind of make its way up. Exactly where the low pressure system ends up is definitely to be determined on the exact track, and the exact focus of the trough is somewhat to be determined, but this will give you a good feeling for it. As we're still in the lighter precipitation here, southern New England is still mostly rain, although a lot of this, particularly Connecticut, will eventually snap back to snow. Even New York City, I think, gets into some of the accumulating snow. The Berkshires are snowing. We're snowing. This is not really accumulating snow yet, or it could be accumulating a little bit, but not dramatically accumulating snow over southern Vermont. As we head into by overnight to 1 a.m., you do see that this happens here as we have heavy rain kind of moving in along the coast. We are moving moisture inland, but there's just enough cold air to really kind of hold things as a heavy, wet snow over southern Vermont. And you can see that trough axis looks like it sets up right across the Berkshires. So I think that's Jackpot area. Also in the hills west of Albany, I think, is another spot that can see that 2 to 3 feet of snow, the southern Adirondacks. So possible that makes its way here into southern Vermont. Wouldn't be shocking, but I think for the most part, you're going to see my forecast model or my forecast map or snowfall total map. It does not get us into the really crazy snowfall totals. However, as we continue to move overnight, we're still in the heavy snow here. This is by Tuesday morning. Again, low pressure system really wrapped up at this point, getting very strong. This is when we'll be breezy here. My house is in the valley. I don't really see breeze on these kinds of systems. But if you're at all in a hill, or especially an eastern facing slope, 25, 35 mile an hour, even some 45 mile an hour gusts. Also, the snow will be heavy. I don't think we're going to be super sticky. I'm not extremely concerned about power outages, but you should be prepared to lose power because it is possible. And if the consistency of the snow ends up being just right here, it could become really problematic. Certainly some areas to our south and east this could be pretty devastating in terms of power outages. I think southern Vermont mostly misses out on that. I'd be most worried about that in southeastern parts of the state. So Brattleboro up through about Bellows Falls, and you head west as you're heading before you kind of get to the foothills as you're heading west on Route 30 and kind of west on Route 9. By the time you get to like Wilmington, I think a little bit more elevation, just a degree or two cooler, keeps you from the really pasty snow. But still, power outages are possible. That's where I'd be the most worried, and it's actually south and east of that I would be more worried about the power outages. But we'll have to see. That is also one of those things that's hard to tell until the storm happens. So everybody should be prepared to lose power potentially out of the system. Tuesday by midday, we're still that access is to our west. Once again, it just sort of pivots there over the Berkshires, which is why I think they're in the 2 to 3 foot range while we're a little bit lighter just to the north. But again, this is not locked in. Where that mesoscale band sets up, that's the most likely spot for it, but it could set up to a little bit to the north, in which case we move right into that 2 to 3 foot band. So that's not impossible. Those kind of totals are not impossible for southern Vermont. As we take a look, by Tuesday evening, we're still the storm is still not moving. What it's done is it did a little loop here which is not unusual for some of these really well wrapped up storms. At this point, though, the storm is starting to diminish in strength. It's actually starting to weaken a little bit, and that should lighten the precipitation, although we could still be getting half-inch an hour snow Tuesday evening. This should basically wrap up to flurries certainly by midnight. So accumulating snow is mostly done by 7 p.m. tomorrow, but could continue through the evening, and travel conditions will be tough through Tuesday evening. So basically, if you got to travel anytime from later on in the evening on Monday all the way through Tuesday during the day, it could be tough. Schools will definitely be canceled. I guarantee you every school in southern Vermont will be closed on Tuesday. Wednesday, delayed openings are possible, especially if we get into that heavier band. We get the big totals. It could just take a little bit of time for them to get fully caught up on that kind of weather. Let's head towards our snowfall map. So here's what we're looking at. Certainly more to the south, and that 12 to 18 inch range for the southern greens and the very southern greens. I think also some of the areas like Stratton, I think Bromley probably gets in that 12 to 18 inch, up to Okemo probably 10 to 16 inches for most of us, certainly across Bennington and Bennington and Windham counties, Rutland counties, northwestern Rutland County, and a little bit in northeastern Windham County. It could be 8 to 12 inches as you get a little further away from the storm. Now, things that could change. This map could change some. The system, that trough of that axis of heaviest snow could sink a little further south of us, and then you kind of move these totals down a little bit. I think the 12 to 18 is pretty locked in here for the very southern part of the mountains, but like up near Killington, you could have an 8 to 12 swath, and this could be 10 to 16 here. Would not be surprising at all. Also, if I was showing Massachusetts on this map, you would not have to go very much further to where it'd be 18 to 24 and probably even some spots of 24 to 36 inches of snow. Not that far south, maybe 40, 50 miles south as we head to central and western Massachusetts. We could creep that a little bit more towards us. If we were going to see 2+ feet of snow anywhere, I would say it would be probably a Mount Snow area, Route 9 as you head across the Greens, definitely. But really, if that axis moves a little bit further north, wouldn't be shocking to see up to 2 feet for the ski areas up through even Stratton to Okemo would be a possibility. Killington, if things moved a little further north, probably 1.5 feet, maybe almost 2 feet of snow there too. So that's kind of the range of possibilities. I think everybody, even if things move a little bit further south, I think everybody sees enough snow to cause no school and enough snow to be big time plowable. And if things move a little bit further north than we're anticipating now, we're talking not just a big snowstorm, but one of those ones that we'll remember a few years from now. So all that to be said, let's go take a look quickly at the highlights. Snow begins between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. tomorrow. Heavy snow from midnight to midday Tuesday. That's when the heaviest of the snow falls. And certainly if we get into there will be some bands of 2-inch-an-hour snow, I think, is likely for all of us here. And if we get into any of the heavier bands, this is the kind of storm where you could see those 3, 4, sometimes even 5-inch-an-hour kind of snows. If we get into the bands that give us a 2 to 3 feet, that's what's going to happen. You'll get a place where you might get a foot of snow in 2.5 hours. Again, I don't know. I think that's more likely to be south of us, but somebody in western New England is going to get that kind of snow out of the system. Snow ends by Tuesday evening. Snow will be heavy and wet with some power outages possible. Everybody should be prepared for that. Again, I think that's not a giant threat. I think that threat is mostly south and east of us, but it is something we have to pay attention to. And winds will gust 35 to 45 miles an hour in the hills, which also could bring a tree branch or two down. So even if the snow ends up not being super sticky, just kind of heavier and wet, but not super sticky, we still have the chance to get a power outage or two from those kind of wind gusts. So that's the forecast. I'll be back tomorrow morning with your work week forecast, which will obviously focus mostly on this. I'll try to have town by town stuff then. Should have a little bit more time to get some more graphics going for you tomorrow morning. Thanks for supporting the channel. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel before, I would encourage you to do so. Helps make sure you don't miss any of these videos. I'll probably, given the system, I'll probably also be back maybe Monday night with maybe I'll go live. I haven't done a live stream in a long time, maybe on Monday night, but I'll let you know that for sure tomorrow. And also, if you're interested in becoming a patron, I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons because they help support what I do here financially. Really appreciate their help. And if you're interested in becoming one, there's a link in the description below that will tell you how to do that. All right, I'll be back tomorrow morning, so just a few hours really, with latest model information, data, and some real-time forecasting at that point of what the system is doing. Try to enjoy. I know we're getting towards spring, but try to enjoy the snow while it's here.